This is not just a normal quarter coin. It tells the story of freedom, immigration, and the birth of modern America. Most people spend it without looking twice. But today, you will discover the hidden history of the 2001 New York quarter, and why collectors still search for special versions of this coin. The 2001 New York State quarter is part of one of the most successful coin programs in American history, the 50-State Quarters Program. In 1999, the United States Mint launched this program to honor every U.S. state, one by one, in the order they joined the Union. The idea was simple but powerful. Turn everyday coins into pieces of history. New York was chosen as the 11th state in the program, and its quarter was released in 2001. But New York's design was not just about geography. It was about freedom, hope, and opportunity. The meaning behind the design. On the back of the coin, you can see the Statue of Liberty standing proudly. She represents freedom, democracy, and the American dream. Behind her is an outline of New York State, and next to it, the words, "Gateway to Freedom." This phrase is extremely important. For millions of immigrants arriving in America during the late 1800s and early 1900s, New York was the first place they ever saw. Ellis Island, located in New York Harbor, welcomed people from all over the world who were searching for a better life. For them, New York was not just a state, it was the gateway to freedom. That is why this coin holds emotional and historical value, not just monetary value. Why the year 1788 is important. On the coin, you will also notice the year 1788. This is the year New York officially became a state, joining the United States as the 11th state. It played a major role in early American politics, trade, and culture. New York City later became the first capital of the United States, and George Washington was sworn in there as the first president. Is the 2001 New York quarter valuable? Most 2001 New York quarters are common and worth face value. However, some rare versions can be valuable to collectors. Collectors look for mint errors, missing rim or weak strike, off-center designs, double die errors, unusual metal composition, E-grade condition, uncirculated coins. Some error versions have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and condition. This is why experts always say, never sell or spend an old coin without checking it carefully. Why collectors still want this coin. This quarter is popular because it represents immigration history. It features the Statue of Liberty. It belongs to a famous coin program. It connects emotional value with national identity. Even today, coin collectors search through rolls of quarters, hoping to find a rare New York-era coin. The 2001 New York State quarter also represents a turning point in modern coin collecting culture. When this coin was released, millions of Americans who had never cared about coins before suddenly started saving quarters. People began checking their change every day, not because of money, but because each new design felt like a small piece of history in their hands. New York's quarter became one of the most talked about designs because of its powerful symbolism. The Statue of Liberty on a circulating coin reminded people that freedom is not just a historical idea, but a living value carried forward through generations. Schools used this coin to teach children about American history, immigration, and democracy. For many families, especially those with immigrant roots, this quarter held emotional meaning. It represented the journey their ancestors took through New York to build a new life. Over time, collectors realized that condition mattered just as much as design. Coins, pulled fresh from mint rolls, with sharp details and no scratches, became more desirable. Error coins, discovered years later, made headlines and reignited interest in this quarter. Even today, collectors search bank rolls, hoping to find an untouched or unusual New York quarter, because history has proven again and again that ordinary coins can become extraordinary. With time, collectors began comparing it with other quarters from the same 50-state quarters program, and this comparison revealed something important. Coins were no longer judged only by age, but by story, symbolism, and uniqueness. The New York quarter stood out because it captured an idea rather than just a place. While many state quarters focused on landscapes or symbols, New York's design told a human story. People arriving, dreams beginning, and freedom being redefined. This shift changed how collectors viewed modern coins. It proved that even recent coins could carry deep historical value. As years passed, grading services began paying closer attention to early 2000s quarters, especially those with strong strikes and clean surfaces. Some collectors started building complete sets, focused only on meaningful designs, and New York became a key piece in those collections. Auction records showed that high-grade examples steadily increased in demand, especially among younger collectors who connected with the message of freedom and opportunity. This growing demand confirmed that the true value of a coin is not always measured in metal, but in the story it preserves and the emotions it carries through time. With time, the New York State Quarter began to represent more than a single state. It became a symbol of how modern coinage could connect past and present. As digital media and online auctions expanded, collectors from different countries discovered this coin and learned its story. Increasing global interest, forums and collector communities started sharing images of rare New York Quarter heirs, including weak rims, off-center strikes, and unusual die marks. Each new discovery added another layer to the coin's reputation. This period marked a shift, where everyday people, not just professional collectors, became part of the hunt. Bankrolls were searched, old jars were opened, and family collections were re-examined. The idea that a coin from pocket change could carry both historical meaning and potential value inspired a new generation of collectors. The New York Quarter, once overlooked as common currency, a collector's target, and a reminder that history often survives in the smallest objects we use every day. The New York State Quarter gained a unique position within American numismatics because it reflected how a nation remembers itself through everyday objects. Historians and collectors began to note that this coin was one of the few modern quarters that successfully combined political history, social identity, and national symbolism in a single design. The Statue of Liberty, already one of the most recognized symbols in the world, took on a new role. When placed on circulating coinage, it became accessible to everyone, not locked away in monuments or museums. This accessibility strengthened the emotional bond people felt with the coin. Many collectors began keeping the first New York Quarter they ever found, not for profit, but as a reminder of heritage and belonging. This emotional attachment translated into sustained collector interest. Coin shows often featured discussions about which modern quarters would become future classics, and New York was frequently mentioned because of its cultural weight. This ongoing recognition reinforced the idea that the value of a coin is shaped not only by rarity, but by how deeply it resonates with the people who hold it. The New York State Quarter also became an example of how modern coins can gain significance through time, rather than age alone. Unlike ancient or silver coins, its importance grew through storytelling, shared experiences, and collective memory. Researchers began analyzing how the 50 State Quarters program influenced public behavior, and the New York Quarter often appeared in studies as a key case. It demonstrated how a simple design could spark curiosity and education on a national scale. Parents used it to explain immigration, teachers used it to discuss constitutional history, and collectors used it to illustrate how symbolism adds depth to numismatic value. Gradually, this coin became part of a larger conversation about how future generations would remember the early 21st century. In that sense, the New York Quarter stopped being just money and became a cultural artifact, a quiet witness to how a country chose to honor its past. While moving forward, the New York State Quarter began influencing how modern collectors defined long-term value. Instead of focusing only on precious metals, attention shifted toward cultural relevance and historical storytelling. This coin became a reference point in discussions about which everyday objects would survive as meaningful artifacts in the future. Collectors noticed that coins linked to strong national symbols tend to remain desirable, even when market trends change. So next time you find a quarter in your pocket, don't ignore it. Because some coins don't just carry money, they carry history, meaning, and a story that may become priceless with time.